We're the third busiest airport in the UK. We're part of Manchester Airports Group, which includes Manchester, East Midlands and Bournemouth at this moment in time. We've got 3 terminals. We handle around 19.5 million passengers at the moment, and obviously we intend to grow that over the years, but also reduce our energy consumption as well, so it's quite a challenge. Back in 2006 we set a carbon neutral target of 2015. Now, carbon neutrality, in the way that we state it, is that's a 25% reduction in terms of Manchester Airport's direct energy use, so it's not officially carbon neutral, but it's still a significant reduction. The targets were set by the group itself, so they weren't set by myself, because I probably wouldn't set them quite as stretching. But they're good targets to go for, and obviously there's lots of benefits to it. It's not just being more energy efficient, it's the carbon reduction, it's being a good neighbour, and obviously significant cost reductions for us as well, because the utility prices are only going one way these days. Back in 2006 our electrical energy use was around 140 gigawatt hours a year, so to reduce that by 25% is quite a significant sum. Lighting is really important to us. When we broke down where we used most of our energy, it was between heating, lighting and cooling, and when we broke it down even further, we kind of think it's about 40% of our total electrical energy use, so it's a significant amount. Terminal 2 is around 20 years old. It's probably the most modular facility we've got, probably the easiest to go and have a look at retrofitting LED luminaires in, so that's predominantly why we looked at that facility first. We carried out a few trials in there and then started putting requests for information out to most of the major manufacturers, started plugging their technical information into our designs, came up with a final design, got all our stakeholders involved, got them to have a look at some of the sample fittings that we put up, put a very large business case together, and then implemented that programme, which was complete early 2012. The overall savings for that scheme was significant. That was 2.2 gigawatt hours per year, so it was a real big win for us. Terminal 2 was a custom-built terminal facility that was put together in the mid-90s. Terminal 3 was kind of an add-on to what used to be the old Terminal A, which was like an annex to Terminal 1. So it's quite compartmentalised, so it wasn't just picking up the original designs from T2 and saying we'll do the same in T3. It had to be, we had to completely redesign. We wanted to get the commonality, so where we had luminaires that were really successful for us in Terminal 2, and we found a place for them in Terminal 3, we used them, because we don't want to have 100 different luminaires across the site. If we can get some commonality, we will. But it's horses for courses. There were certain areas that we had to bring new luminaires in Terminal 3, and likewise Terminal 1. So that's just been signed off, and that's got kind of different luminaires going in there as well. Terminal 2 and Terminal 3 multi-storey car parks used to be 70-watt sodium lamps, and we had a challenge there to reduce the energy again by 40%. It was a real challenge, that. And actually with a bit of foresight we probably wouldn't have set ourselves such a challenge, but we got there in the end, and we replaced that with 32-watt LED luminaires from MHA Lighting. Some of the challenges we had in there were that we only had a certain amount within our capex budget, so we couldn't go in and completely redesign where the spacings were, so we couldn't get into rewiring or new conduits, so we had to kind of make use of what we had. So we worked quite closely with MHA Lighting there to come up with a replacement bulkhead that used the existing bulkhead base, but was a true retrofit on the face that still gave us the right IP rating. On the airfield we have the runway and taxiway lighting, which is there's mandatory requirements there, so we've got regulatory requirements that we've got to meet. But there's been quite a lot of work carried out there, not particularly under the energy efficiency banner, but in terms of availability and maintainability, or less maintenance. So most of our taxiways and the like have now been retrofitted with LED equivalents. So the maintenance regimes have reduced out there, so we've made some cost savings there. And we were the first airport to gain approval to actually put LEDs as part of our runway as well. So our airfield team have been really proactive in terms of that. Again, not driven particularly by the energy efficiency agenda, but by just availability of the runway, availability of the taxiways, and the reduced requirement for maintenance. Ultimately, we completed the Terminal 3 lighting scheme in November of 2012. So once we've finished in Terminal 2, we'll follow up into Terminal 3 and carry out the self-same intelligent lighting controls in there. and we've just had Terminal 1 business case signed off to complete the luminaire replacement scheme in there. So that'll probably end around August, September 2013. And once that completes, we'll follow that through and do the lighting controls in there, all being followed up finally by the intelligent building controls, which is kind of starting off in April 2013. That's going to work quite a lot in terms of air handling units and boiler controls and the like. But once it's complete, we'll also have the lighting plugged into that. So there is some thought going into it all.